Good morning and welcome to the kitchen at Mockingbird Meadows. I am in the kitchen this morning making up a little treat for our chickens. Here on our farm we don't use any medication, and something that you'll typically see farms use for medication on a rotating basis is actually worming medication. Your chickens do need some attention on this level depending on how you're raising them. Ours are free range. They get a lot of opportunity to be out and about. We don't tend to worry about worms, but if they're in close proximity to each other for an extended period of time, maybe over the winter or through other inclement weather, you might want to worry about giving them a treat like this. There are lots of recipes on the internet for treat patties, and so what we're doing here is altering a treat patty recipe to use to get the herbs and the foods into the chickens that are going to be naturally deworming. A lot of the recipes that you'll find will be expecting you to use a pelletized type of food. On our farm we use scratch grains, just very simply scratch grains, and then whatever they use throughout the yard, whatever they collect. So some of the recipes are going to include molasses and water, and that can be really great with a pelletized food that you're going to smash down into a mash or a powder and mix all together and make a cookie. Those tend to be cooked onto a cookie sheet at 350 for about 15 minutes. We have had to alter it for the way that we feed our chickens here, and so I'm going to tell you how to do that. We start with about a half a cup. This gives a couple patties worth, a half a cup of scratch grains, and about a quarter cup of molasses. And we mix that all up together with this amount of scratch grains. You're going to go about a teaspoonful if you're using an herb like wormwood. If you want to put in garlic, you're going to mash up a couple cloves into that, maybe three or four cloves tops into this. You don't want to get it too garlicky, and mix it all up. The way that we have altered this is that we use bacon grease. So we collect bacon grease as we're cooking our meals, and if you're in a good traditional kitchen, you're collecting your bacon grease as well to cook your vegetables, to cook other meals with. And in the winter, if you're going to make suet cakes for your wild birds, this is what you're going to use. This is going to be really great for your domesticated chickens as well. So I make a mixture with the molasses. Today I'm just going to use wormwood in these cakes, so it's molasses, about a quarter cup, about a teaspoon of wormwood. I've mixed it all together, and I have poured in enough bacon grease that you should see it pooling on the top of your mixture. You want to make sure it gets good and mixed in with everything else, and then you're going to let it sit. Mash it down a little bit. Now you may ask, why the molasses? The molasses does tend to gum things together. However, it's also a bit of a laxative. It's a high in minerals, and it's very helpful to move things through the chicken. Anytime you're doing natural deworming, you want to be aware that you want to irritate the worms out of the host animal, but you also want to help to move them along through the system. So molasses, having a lot of minerals involved, is nutritive for the chicken, but it's also helping to keep that process going. I'm going to take this bowl and I'm going to put it in the freezer, and we'll come back and show you what the finished cake is going to look like. And we lift it off, and there is your cake. You can freeze a number of these ahead of time so that you have them in a big Ziploc individual, and in the Ziploc container you can bring it out and set it out for your chickens. Often I would set this on a plate or a feed pan so that it gives them something to peck out, something fun to do. You don't necessarily just need to think about this as worming medication. A lot of us will bake leftover eggshells and crush them up for calcium and minerals. You could make this a great way to get those into your chickens. You can add mealworms, you could add dried nuts or fruits or anything else that your chickens like as a treat. into your cake. One other way that you can make it really easy to form these molds is to use one of these flexible plastic pans. If you have them around, they're going to pop that out, that shape out much nicer than having to sit your pan in some hot water. Hopefully this inspires you to put together some great treats for your chickens. They deserve it. They put together a lot of eggs for you over the season. And this can be a really simple way to ensure that they're getting the herbs that you want to get in them for whatever reason, whether it's worming or something else, without scattering it across the chicken yard. This has been Dawn Combs, the Prescription Gardener with Hobby Farms. I hope you join us again another time.